Ester Davis, and we are going to talk just for a few minutes about what happened tonight at the DNC. What did you enjoy best about tonight's Democratic National Convention? All of the excitement, all of the yells, and they couldn't quieten the audiences down. But we're going to talk to a great citizen. And let's talk the next 2 nights. I'll be talking to other people about how they felt. What was their temperature when we started, while they were watching the DNC on television. And we have friends that are up there. They are giving us some feedback as to their own hand, up close encounter of the Democratic National Convention. Please welcome my guest for the next few minutes. He is James W. Breedlove, United States Air Force pilot, retired. Good afternoon, Mr. Breedlove.
Good evening, Miss Davis. So glad to be with you.
What did you think about tonight's DNC? What part did you enjoy the most?
Well, of course, the anticipation was looking forward to hear the tandem duo, Michelle and Barack, speak.
Which one was your favorite?
That's what I was looking forward to, and I have to say they both delivered, but Michelle is
the winner.
She cannot be beat as far as delivering a message not only of hope, not only of that we can, but in the summary of her words, simplifying it so that there is no one that could not get that message that is individualized now. Mm-hmm. Don't sit around waiting for someone. Don't sit around waiting for instructions. Don't sit around waiting for the letters. Don't sit around waiting for the calls. Don't sit around waiting for social media to catch up for you. Do something.
Indeed. And she gave us...
You know what it is within your purview, right, within your sphere of influence. Do something.
Absolutely. You've been through a couple of these, haven't you?
Oh, yes.
Democratic conventions. How many? 5, 6? How many?
Yes. At 92 years old, I've been through it.
I want my audience to know this is...
In fact, most importantly, the fact is that Barack Obama in 2008 and again with the touchy election of 2012 showed that against the odds, if you get out there, don't let what society is saying, don't let what the polls might be saying, don't let what the characteristics of this is what society is all about stymie your drive to know this is what needs to happen and this is what I'm going to do. Not to get that you're guaranteed the success, but his forays into the political field in 2008 and 2012 showed that it can be done. Now, the business is slightly different here, that the complacency that could set in with the euphoria that has been taking place over the last, say, 2 weeks, you can get a sense that destiny is already provided and opened the door for me. Both Michelle and Barack are saying, don't let that happen. Don't let that happen. The work that to be done, the work that needs to be done, and the fact that to consider your opponent as a formidable opponent, no matter how, and some of the things that they put out there, the stupidity, the thing that doesn't make sense and whatnot, that there are people on the other side,
right,
who are not maybe analyzing, who are not maybe taking this for the truth of what it is, but the fact is they find themselves into a fix, and they're reaching out. They're just reaching out, and that reaching out for something could be the very thing that trips you up if you take things for granted.
Were you a little surprised at how he just came out so blatantly and started talking about Trump tonight? I mean, he never does that. He always has the good.
No, I said.
Uh-huh.
He saw what happened when you try to assume that people see the ridiculousness in the Hillary Clinton defeat.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, he really slandered.
It was almost everyone thought that was a gimme. In fact, the Democratic Party, as part of their strategy at the time, was helping Trump get all the publicity that he could because it was so ridiculous.
And we are proud of it.
These so-called standard opponents, the regular kind of opponents, to be on the ticket. They wanted someone who was so outlandish that it was impossible for the voters to accept him. And they were fooled into a certain complacency there. And they lost.
Hold on a second. Hold on one second for me. My guest is James W. Breedlove, an American hero for all of us. He's a retired United States Air Force pilot and has been very, very active and vocal in this community and everywhere else. What year were you appointed by Bill Clinton to come to Texas?
1994.
And you came and stayed, huh?
Well,
you didn't go back. You didn't go back to watch. You did not go back even to Los Angeles. You came to stay.
No. In fact, I wasn't. I moved here.
Ah.
It was
okay.
I had already retired. Moved here and saw fit, by virtue of at that time the inefficiencies associated with the Resolution Trust Corporation.
Oh, yeah. We all remember that one.
Stick my nose into that. Mm-hmm. What was going on? This Congressman from Plano, Sam Johnson, who was heading a committee to investigate the inefficiencies in the RTC, and on the 6 o'clock news when he said, basically, I mean, he used better words, but what he meant was, this agency is wasting taxpayers' money. I simply, then the very next day after I heard his talk on the TV, I got in my car, went down to Reverchon Plaza, and said, I want to see whoever's in charge here. And I thought, based upon my previous experience, that they were going to have the guards or something grab me by the collar and throw me out on the street, in which I was going to hoop and holler and go through my protest movement. But to my surprise, the secretary took me up to see the head of the agency, whose name was Carmen Sullivan at the time. And as a result, on that day, it shows how God works. On that day, as a result of a discussion with her, she owned up and said the reason for her inefficiency, she didn't have anyone on her staff that was thoroughly familiar with government contracting.
Oh, my gosh.
I was familiar with government contracting, and she said, would you mind think about coming out of retirement and become my head of contracts? Just like that.
Just like that.
Just like that.
Wow, we're talking to James W. Breedlove about 1992 and an incident that happened in our country.
And as a result of that, she hired me right on the spot to be head of contracts for the Resolution Trust Corporation for the Southeast region, which included Texas and Louisiana, which were the two largest states who had savings and loans failures at that time.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The turnaround and the contacts as a result of the Resolution Trust Corporation situation led to 2 years later being appointed as the regional administrator for the Small Business Administration for the states of Texas, Louisiana, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and New Mexico.
That was a much larger area. That's 5 states.
Yes. $2 billion a year.
Now, how long did you stay there? Just briefly tell me that. How long were you with the SBA?
4 years.
4 years.
Yes.
So you're what we call a real hero who kept working. Because you never really retired from any. Well, you retired from the Air Force.
Well, it's not the hero. Again, it's doing what is, and still today, many of the, I'll call it profile people in Dallas, still say, when I tell that story, that that's a lie. There was no way that could happen that way.
Oh.
You had to be a political insider, right, to get those kind of appointments. That's what they say.
That's what they say, but that
yes.
didn't.
And for the most part, that's true. Most part, that's true. But it didn't happen in my case that way.
Well, thank you for coming on tonight to talk to us about the DNC. What do you think is that? What do you really think after the 2 nights we've had with the Democratic National Convention? Can a woman win this race?
No, it's up to the Democrats to lose it. Both Michelle Barack gave you the key. First, take nothing for granted.
Okay.
Don't think that any of you as an individual, that my participation, and it's not just casting your vote, there are other things that you could do, your neighbors, the little organizations you belong to see to it that they are energized also. I say within your sphere of influence, Michelle put it very succinctly and directly. Do something.
You know,
you only got 11 weeks now. 11 weeks.
That sounds
11 weeks.
Simple, but everyone now, what are
Get
you going
out
to do?
there and do something.
What are you going to do over there in Breed? I call him Breed. He's been a friend for a long, long time. And he's in Duncanville, DeSoto, that little area.
Yeah, at my age right now is to shower money on them.
Right.
They need money for these ads. They need money for the for the last few weeks. There's going to be now, and everybody knows in politics, the dirt players, and believe me, the Republicans are dirt players.
Ooh,
they will collect the dirt out, and they will throw the dirt up against the wall, or what I call on the last weeks of the campaign, where you do not have time to produce and have the counter effects to even a lie that's being told. See? They throw it up there. And if they throw it up there so vividly, it becomes a truth because the impossibility of it itself makes it a truth. Now, we all know approximately 4 or 5 years ago, I forget the man's name, but it was a black man who was leading in the contest, either North Carolina or South Carolina. In the last week of the campaign of which he was ahead in the polls. The last week, They blasted him with the ad where the white lady silently, she didn't say the words, but she silently said what you could read her lips. She had her hands in her earpiece saying, "Call me." Not in the loud words, but in voice, lip movement. You knew what she was saying, and the ad was out there. And the racial aspect of that ad defeated that man in the last week of the election. And he did not have time to put together an ad calling out the lie that it was.
Well, tonight they sort of pounced on this. We're talking about the Democratic National Convention. Don't know what time you're listening to this, but we're just wrapping it up, and we're having a nightcap. By the way, what were you drinking when you were drinking? Did you ever have a nightcap? What did you drink?
Me?
Yeah, you.
No. No. At these times, Breedlove has a clear head.
That's a good answer.
And is a clear thinker.
He's a clear thinker. But I did want to talk to you about the DNC today, as it was back probably with Kennedy and some of the other national conventions you have attended and been a part of. Have we made any improvements in the Democratic Party?
No. First thing. Yes, there's a change, difference. It is unheard of to have the Democratic National Committee, in a manner of, I'll call it relatively speaking, 2.5 weeks to go from solid turmoil to the kind of cohesiveness that at least they are exhibiting during their convention. The fact, and even more remotely, the fact that they have coalesced around a black woman.
Exactly. In 2 weeks.
Now that says,
right.
That in itself says something. The turmoil of taking your front runner, having the front runner bow out and turn it over to somebody else, and to get this kind of enthusiasm, this kind of collectivism, this kind of, at least apparent for the moment, let's work together, is unheard of.
Yeah, in 2 weeks.
The Democratic Committee seems to be a committee for this time being. Now, whether it stays that way for the next 11 weeks is something else. But for this to happen in approximately 2.5 weeks is unheard of.
You have to say that again, because that is absolutely true. We have not. The Democratic Committee it was always scheduled for Chicago, but the fact that they can pull this whole thing together around another candidate. What are your thoughts right quick before we go about Joe Biden? A person that relinquishes, forgets his own dreams, or leaves them alone and appoints somebody else.
Well, there will be a lot of discussions on both sides of the fence, and then right at this moment now, history will reveal the truth of the matter. But at this moment, we have to take it for what it is and say the man has selflessness, put himself aside, because it's a very, very tough thing to give up what I call the prize that he had in his hands, to be the presumptive nominee right at that moment. And to back off, to essentially say, I'm going to disappear off of the face of the earth as far as this opportunity to run for president is concerned, shows a selflessness that is rarely seen in a human being.
Have you ever seen this happen before anywhere? In the Air Force, in your club? Can you recall anybody who has done this at the top of their game and then they give up the whole play for somebody else?
No, that's what I said. Human beings are inherently selfish. I don't care how much they say it, how much they put on the show of their unselfishness, but they are definitely selfish. And it's certainly, and not to be precise about this, but we see the Republican candidate, all actions, all the performances are directed at me. There is no Republican Party now. It is the party of Trump. You see? It's not the Republican Party. It's the party of Trump. And he lets it be known. It is my way or the highway.
Oof. And
that's what saying and what has been indicated during the speeches last night and tonight. The implementation, should he be lucky enough, and should the Democratic Party fall short, and he win the election, it is going to be a country my way or the highway. There is going to be no democracy, no choice, and in fact, he has already indicated, and if you read the 1,000-page 2025 document, there will be no future elections. He will see to that.
No future elections in a country that is the largest and the most respected democracy there is. No.
Well,
I can't envision anybody even saying something like that, Breed.
Well, and it's the reason he got elected the first time around, because everybody sat around and said it was such an impossible task. See, when you let your guard down, anything can happen.
Well, that's what we did. We let our guard down.
And that's what the message was today. Do not let your guard down, because you have seen, this is not now speculation, you have seen what the results will be should the other party get into the White House again.
Well, being a military person, how many years did you put into the military?
Well, I had 5 active years.
Okay. And then you were in the hospital.
Well, that included 5 years.
Oh, that included it.
3 of those 5 years was in the hospital. Recovering.
Well, I really, really, really enjoyed you coming on. We're going to have guests the next 2 nights. I may do a roundup with everybody after the DNC. We got to think of a way to keep this momentum going. And I appreciate your time and the lateness of the hour, but you're a night owl anyway, aren't you?
Well, the momentum that we're talking about is the constant reminder that your guard cannot come down. Don't listen to the polls. Don't be mistaken, because at any given time, anyone can tell you, see, and as I say, any poll, to ask this question. First, how many people are in the poll? And usually those polls are like 200, 400 people, you see? And what was the real question that was asked in the poll? Very few people, when they get a poll result, will ask that question. What question was really asked in taking the poll? And of the 400 or 600 people, then you're trying to make a conclusion based upon thousands of voters. See? You can be led astray by nefarious people.
Yes, you can. And that's what polls are all about, leading you astray.
And they make you believe that I've already run the race, and we saw We saw over a 2-week period just a few weeks ago the Olympics. And rounding those corners, sometimes the apparent winner lost the race by tenths of seconds because they gave up on the last final step, or they slowed down thinking they had won. And that last final step, they got beat by a nose, or in this case, by a chest. You see?
Wow. You are just great.
And give up until the race is over.
Over. Okay. You will come back to talk to me. I can catch you at midnight. I know that for sure. I really appreciate it.
Anytime.
Really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
That's
our show for tonight. That's our show for tonight. We are going to do Nightcap again tomorrow night. We're talking about the Democratic National Convention. We're getting fired up, and we've got to keep this program and the momentum going. It's Ester Davis. We'll see you next time. Thank you.